Okay. Hello, everyone. Good evening, or good morning, or afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to the 46th episode of hopefully many episodes of Bardadvice, a D&D advice podcast where I, Charles Chaz Yazik, the DM, the Bard, however you may know me, do my best to answer any questions that you might have in the orbit of Dungeons & Dragons, TTRPGs, nerdcore stuff, and sometimes sports. I hope everybody's having a good day today and looking forward to the weekend. Hope everybody's had a great week since we spoke last. At the top of the show, we like to remind everyone of the email, so please send all of your questions, concerns, complaints, queries, compliments, criticisms, any kind of stories or anything you have from your games, or just things that you might think are funny for the podcast or for the Bardad community. Send those to bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice if that helps you remember. If you want to get merch, you can do so at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I am doing musically, notably my third album, Organized Lightning, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are Yazik, Yahzick. All right, so let's get into it. At the top of today's episode for Art Corner, we're going to be doing something cool. So I got an email which in it contained not only questions that I will be using on the podcast, but also some art. So this is from friend of the pod, and you may recognize from an episode title not long ago, the artwork of Chill. It's also his name is Josh, and he's got art on Instagram. He sent some of the pieces over. I think that they're really cool, and definitely encourage you to keep doing this stuff. But this is just some independent artwork that you can see if you're watching the YouTube version of this show. I think it's really cool. So you can check out more of that stuff. I'm sure that he'll be making more. His Instagram is Jahmonstar. It's Jahmonstar. Us artists with all the complicated spellings and names. But thanks for the art, Jah. Like I said, I think it's really cool. I encourage people to go check out the rest of it and support your local artist. You know what I mean? All right, so tonight we've got some questions. Quite some questions indeed. We actually have 7, which is a bit higher than usual. Before we get into it, let me just quickly say hi to all of the regulars that have come in. It's great to see y'all. And also, what I didn't do at the top when I was just kind of running through the housekeeping stuff is thank all of our patrons, all of our members, all of our subscribers, super chatters. Remind everybody to please like, comment, subscribe, share the podcast, and also rate the podcast on your respective platforms. So, just wondering, where did Jessica come up with the theme song for the Man Shorts intro? I wrote that, actually. And funny enough, fun fact, if anybody didn't notice this before, if you've watched both, the Man Shorts intro is actually the tail end of the Drunk Before Noon outro. And I don't know if all of the Drunk Before Noons end that way, but if you look at some of the earlier Drunk Before Noons, the end credits, there's an entire little sequence that I just kind of wrote out myself in like Mixcraft. And the end portion of that is what we would later use as the intro for Man Shorts. The short answer is I wrote that piece at the same time, and it served both pieces. I don't remember where it went first, because there was a while there where we didn't have an intro, and I'm pretty sure that it came first as the credits in Drunk Before Noon. Anyway, that's what that is. And hello to all the regulars: Pirate, Puffy Cheeto, Cat Jazz, Robert, Duncan. I think I saw Rocco earlier, Ruby, and Chris. All the Chris's. And yeah, Pirate, is it your birthday today, Pirate, or are you turning this weekend? Birthday's Sunday. Well, welcome to 40. Not that I'm welcoming you. I'm not there yet, but I'll be there shortly. See you soon, I guess. All right, so let's get going with some questions. The first question this evening is from Ja, the artist whose work we were looking at earlier. So let's get going. Ja asks, "Why, hello there, my good man. It's Yggdrasil, or Ja, or Josh. My question is, when creating your content, what exercises or methods do you use to keep yourself focused on things? I have a character I need to create the costume for, and I'm having a hard time keeping that in focus amongst the general noise of life." Thank you for the question, Josh Yggdrasil. You had mentioned that, obviously you've got struggles with mental health and different diagnoses and etc. And so you want to know about focus. I have to say, I'm not the best person in the world to ask this question because I have issues with this myself, believe it or not. I think that I was fortunate enough that my grandfather, my mother's father, was able to instill in me a sense of just kind of put your head down and do the stuff. So even if it's like stuff that I don't like or that I don't want to do or I don't feel inspired to do, I have a tendency to just kind of be able to put my head down and do it. I don't think that that's like an answer. I just want to preface this with that because it's like, I want you to understand that I'm not somebody that by nature is good at it so much as I can just kind of ignore what I don't like and keep going. So I made some notes. I think you should give yourself a bit of a break. That's an important note just for any artist. Genius isn't usually found when you're looking for it, and that goes for inspiration too. So unfortunately, it's such the case. There's only so much time in a day. If you've got other responsibilities, if you're living, if you're surviving, if you're doing other things that you don't necessarily want to be doing, then you've only got so much time for the craft. And if you're in that mode for spending that time on the craft and you don't feel inspired or you don't feel like you're doing well, then that can be incredibly frustrating. I experience it daily. So I said that you might consider creating some sort of a schedule, even if it's vague at first if you don't, because I'm someone that struggles with that, and having my wife is really good at those kind of things, like routine and keeping a schedule and keeping track of stuff, and I am not good at that. So I try, as vague and sort of ever changing as it can feel sometimes, I do have a bit of a schedule, which helps. Routines can help. And also meditation, which, I should take my own advice on that and do that more often. But I said, life happens and you aren't always in the mood to do stuff, but try and take advantage of every spare second you have, even if it's planning. I think that's a cool note too. Doing something smaller and easier but equally important can make you feel better. So like even if, for example, you're like, I don't really feel like building anything in terms of this costume, like maybe spend that time then instead planning so that when you are in the mood to build, you can do so more effectively and efficiently. Let me take a look at what some of the chat is saying for you as well. People focus on things. Yeah, I feel that, Flint, for sure. Music is a major factor in helping me focus. Yeah, it's interesting too for me. Sometimes it feels like the more stimulus I have, the easier I can concentrate. Like if it's quiet, sometimes that doesn't do well for me because then I can get loud in my head. But a lot of times I'll have, while I'm working, a podcast running in the background, and that can be really helpful, even if it's just kind of like droning something else. I finally got to catch you live. Oh, well, hello. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Glad you made it. Having music in the background helps a lot. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of music. If I get stuck on something, putting it down, walking away, especially a literal walk, helps me refocus and breeds new ideas. Setting up a nice reward for myself often keeps me motivated. Oh, yeah, that's true, too. Yeah. Working on stuff usually comes in two phases. First, I think we're doing something mindless like exercise or walking. That helps me think to sort everything. Then put on music and do the thing. Yeah, I think like being able to step away too is important. Like not beating yourself up for missing a day. Like I should make sure I'm listening to myself, and I'll have to re-listen to this when I edit it. So, but I think stepping away and just being able to be okay with the fact that it's like I didn't do any of that today. Because being an artist, I think those moments of like inspiration and wanting to do it kind of ebbs and flows, comes and goes, for sure. And there's not too much consistency. And then obviously when you combine that with whatever you've got going on mentally and emotionally, then it can just exacerbate it all, and it can seem like complete dissonance and chaos. But I think that I think you should take it easy on yourself, and not focus on the fact that you're not getting it done, but maybe try and consider like what things you can do constructively to work towards doing those things more effectively. You know what I mean? Take care of yourself. Self-care is like one of the biggest pieces of advice I can give to artists. I tend to hyper-focus on things, so sometimes I have to do something else and let my brain go auto mode and get a head start on actually doing the thing. Sure that with me and Aver, our focus comes from us working on cars. Yeah, and everybody's different too. You know, some people are able to just like focus and do the thing. You know, I think that Justin is that way. At least when it comes to things like editing. If you were a fly on the wall for my general workflow, it would probably drive the average person crazy, because I have like 17 windows open, not just in my browser, but like I've got I've got every program I use open. I've got a notepad open for notes that I'm doing somewhere else, and I'm always constantly going. So that's just kind of how it goes. If you're suffering from terrible inertia, if you're stopped, it's hard to get started. And honestly, I've heard before, and I might have mentioned it on this podcast before, and I don't unfortunately know the name of the woman, but I think she's like a psychiatrist or a psychologist. And maybe she wrote a book about it, I'm not sure, but I certainly saw her speaking about it, about this, the concept of 1, 2, 3, go. Because so many decisions are made like micro decisions. So much of our lives are just like a large collection of small, 3 to 5 second decisions. And to your point of inertia and kind of like losing flow or not having, incentive, losing that motivation. Getting started, in my experience, is the hardest part, kind of across the board. And so to that point I made at the beginning of all of this about me just putting my head down and going, like, there is the aspect of 1, 2, 3, go. If you can convince yourself to just get started, as you're doing it, you'll feel better. So that's kind of a thing. It's almost like when you like hold your nose to take the medicine. It's a means to an end. It's like, yeah, this sucks, but I'm doing it for this reason. So maybe that can be helpful to remind yourself of, like, even if you're not in the mood, it's just like, just, do whatever it is you do to build the costume. I'm not sure what's involved in that, but, get yourself your hot glue gun or whatever. And then once you're doing it for 5 or 10 minutes, you might feel differently. You probably will. You probably will get maybe they say a second wind, maybe a first wind from starting. It's just kind of like a delayed motivation. So, procrastinate a lot. Once I start something, I usually finish or at least make good progress. Yeah, we try. I mean, that's all that we can do. But all right, well, I think that there's some answers in there for you. And also, if you're not already, get on the Discord. Can you put the link for that in here, Pirate? And I keep forgetting. I need to get that as a link that I can just put in the description so that people can go to. But if you're not on there, get on there on Discord, because we can chat more about that stuff too. All right. Well, thank you for the question. Let's keep moving. We've got 6 more. Yeesh. All right. So the next question is from Bert. And Bert asks, "Hi, Bard. Regarding Hasbro's new D&D FAST channel that's coming to Freevee, it looks like it will feature 3 new original D&D TTRPG shows, as well as the old cartoon from the 80s, and no doubt any of the other existing properties. My question is twofold. How do you think this type of content will affect the way games are made, and does Man Shorts have any plans or interest in working with them? Thanks for the pod." Well, thanks for the question, Bert. I will start with the second piece. I'm not saying that we wouldn't be interested. I doubt seriously that the people that are behind the production of this would need us for anything. I think that would be really fun to get to work on something like that or be a part of that in some way. But we don't have any immediate plans. And, we haven't heard anything. So let's take a look actually at what that's about, because we talked about this was news like earlier this year, and then now it's approaching, right? I think the channel drops like next week. So let's take a look at this. I forget actually where this article was from, but what shows will be on D&D Adventures? The legacy content will include the 80s D&D animated series and Rivals of Waterdeep, High Rollers, Desi Quest, and more. 3 new shows have been confirmed for Dungeons Adventures so far. Wait, that must be a typo on their part, yeah? Heroes Feast, Mondays, Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern Pacific. Is this stuff is it gonna stream live? Or I'm not totally sure I understand. I guess that this is just when they air. Heroes Feast is Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 Eastern. Encounter Party, Tuesdays and Fridays at 9 Eastern. Faster Purple Worm Kill Thursdays and Saturdays. Heroes Feast is a cooking show that uses the recipes from the D&D cooking book. Well, who wrote this? Receipts from the D&D cooking book on the same name. Encounter Party is a 22-episode RPG session set in the city of Baldur's Gate, and Faster Purple Worm Kill is a celebrity D&D game featuring stars like Deborah Ann Wall, Patton Oswalt, Will Wheaton, and Seth Green. Yeah, see, so in terms of how it's going to affect how games are made, I think that the game's going to get a lot more popular. Certainly with these celebrity names in there, I think that pretty soon, I think between, like, you know, obviously coming off of the movie and getting into this fast, which I don't even know what that is. It's just TV. It's just the model of TV. They're like, it's free ad-supported TV. It's like, that's what TV always was. I mean, I guess you can buy and pay for cable, but anyway, that's semantics. As celebrities get involved, more people will be looking to play. I think we're going to see that, like, in the coming year or so, more people than ever are going to have an interest in playing, or at least they'll be looking into it. So I imagine that they'll very likely create content based on characters are happening in these shows or in these campaigns. And it'll probably make things more expensive. That'll probably happen, because, you know, why not make it, you know, like with the deck of many things, like, why not? Is it $100? So, yeah, people who have never had interest in 4 will be playing it. So I think that the popularity, as well as any kind of stuff that happens in that world sort of becoming canon as part of, like, the D&D multiverse, as it were. But I don't know how much that's ever even mattered, honestly, because, you know, most of us pretend like 4E doesn't exist, and it did. It was the version. Organized Lightning is indeed the name of the new album, Pirate. Thank you. Yes. Sorry I missed the question about releasing more rap songs. I am going to be releasing my new album. In fact, I didn't talk about that earlier, and maybe we can just talk about it right now. I have the track listing for it. So I finally finished the track listing, as you can see, for Organized Lightning. I was supposed to talk about this after Art Corner, but I'd forgotten because I had to talk about all of our wonderful patrons and super chatters and such, because I'd forgotten to talk about that originally. So yeah, this is the Organized Lightning track listing. Some of the songs, as you see, have already been released as singles over the last year or two, but this will be 10 totally new tracks, and I'm really excited about it. We've got some cool features, featuring with Pontius again, as well as Bo and Macy's again. And then for the first time on this album, featuring with Songaria, who I've done some work with over the last year, as well as Al Dumas, who is a friend of mine who's going to be coming to do his verse, I think, this weekend. So that'll be fun. So that's the track listing for that. Organized Lightning is not already out. It's going to be coming out tentatively on 11/11. Tentatively on 11/11. Hopefully it'll get done. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Did we get that one answered? Yeah. I think the short answer of what it's going to do in terms of affecting the game is that it's going to make things, it's going to more people are going to like it, more people are going to want to do it, and it's going to probably get more expensive. So at least like the, you know, the official Hasbro Wizards WotC stuff. All right, the next question, according to the list of names, is from Tony. And Tony asks, Dear Bard, I need your advice. I'm afraid I've made a grave error in character design. In an attempt to create a fun and unique barbarian, I designed a PC with an abnormally high number of phobias. Think Adrian Monk. So as a result, Spackle... Sorry, I wasn't ready. So as a result, Spackle is quite the paranoid Firbolg. Initially, I felt these character choices were cheeky and fun, and they were for a while. Lately, Spackle's fears are getting us into lots of trouble, as the DM seems to be building all of our encounters around them. For example, last session it came up in conversation that my character is deathly afraid of spiders. We're fighting a giant spider next week. Wisdom is my dump stat. What can I do? What have I done? P.S. Looking forward to new music. Oh man, okay. Sorry. I had to go grab this. So, thank you for the question, Tony. That's a lot to unpack. So let's get started. It's a barbarian, and you've got wisdom as a dump stat. You've made Spackle's his name. First of all, paranoid Firbolg is great. But he's got phobias a la Adrian Monk. And now you've gotten the DM into a into a situation where it's just like, oh, cool. Well, we'll just throw out all of the stuff that you're afraid of. That'll be great. River says, see if during the session your DM will allow you to roll to overcome a fear. Yeah, I think that from what I'm getting, if you're denoting that wisdom is your dump stat, it sounds like this might already be happening and causing a problem in terms of you being into an encounter, and you're a barbarian, so they're probably going to be expecting to throw you up and just kind of, you know, hopefully do damage, hopefully take some damage. But if you're afraid of whatever the thing is, then you're just going to be trying to run away. So that's not fun. I said that there are 3 real routes that you can go. Embrace, grow, or change. So you can lean into the thing and whatever happens, happens. On that note, it could become a thing where, you know, you have your fears fighting against each other, meaning that, you know, let's say you get into an encounter and it's a spider, and so because you have arachnophobia, you have to roll a will save to see if you're afraid. And if you become afraid, and then maybe if you try to flee, while you're fleeing, you run into like a particular type of plant or tree that you also have a phobia of, in which case you have to run back in the other direction. Add a fear of phobias. That's true. It's a good way to help roleplay with the phobias. Phobias can also be overcome. If I was scared of spiders and ended up killing the giant spider, that would put other spiders into perspective. And that's an excellent point, Duncan. And I actually put that as well, is that perhaps this is an opportunity for your character to overcome said fear of spiders. I noted that you should talk to the DM and or the party about how to develop the character. Like if you want to go the grow or change route, well, the change route would essentially just be in like asking the DM to respec, or at a minimum, maybe you consider as you continue to level multi-classing somewhere else, maybe where you can get some help for that kind of stuff. I'm looking at spellcasting stuff. Honestly, Spackle the Paranoid Firbolg sounds like a bard or a druid to me. So you might just ask the DM if you could just respec entirely. Isn't there a spell that someone could cast on him to temporarily make him forget his phobias? Oh, that's a good point. Any spellcasters in the party that could do like modify memory? Is that what it is? That's a move. That's just, yeah, dude. Just have the wizard hit you with modify memory, and then you don't remember that you're afraid of spiders. Although, I don't know. I don't know what the DM would think on that. Fight or flight. Maybe the fight instinct is stronger than, and you became a berserker. Throughout the series, Monk Adrian does overcome many of his fears that hold him back. But yeah, that's true. Yeah. If you have a spellcaster in the group, see if the DM will allow the homebrew, the ridiculous spell from Harry Potter. Yes, go in blind, wear a blindfold. Yeah, I had that as well. I said maybe you can contribute to the battle if you blindfold your character. So you could do like listen, blind fight is not fun. Because I think you have like a 50% shot to miss, just like off rip. And then other things can complicate that. Is there a courage spell? I don't know. I know that you can give yourself bardic inspiration, right? Or no? In 5e. What is that rule? Because if you were if you could, then you could be a bard and just give yourself inspiration, but you could just get it from someone else too. Barbarian who takes drunken monk. Get the bard to cast protection from spiders on you convincingly enough that you believe it. Yeah? There's a lot of meta that's going to go on here, I think. But, you know, and a lot of my advice that I dole out, one of the things that a trope that I come back to is communication. Communicating with the party. Talking to the DM and or the rest of your party to figure out how you want to do it. Maybe it's just, maybe you just cut your losses and say, you know, whatever happens, happens. If I fail the will saves and I just flee, then that character's just gone, and then I re-roll a new character. I guess that's like well, I guess that would be that would be inclusive in change as one of the options for you. But yeah, talk to the spellcasters because they might be able to. They might be able to do something at least temporarily, long enough for battle. Like modify memory or some sort of a buff that would even something that's, I'm sure there's a spell that gives you, you know, like bardic inspiration just gives you extra to the roll. And then doesn't bless do that as well from clerics and paladins? And then I'm sure there's something else that would give you either a specific bonus to will saves or, like, you know, something that would just give you a bonus to any rolls, any kind of saves. Doesn't rage also nullify the frightened condition? Oh, that's a good point. Well, you just got to time your rage then. Find ways to develop the irrational fears into rational preparedness, like the character in the Goblin Slayer anime. He's definitely nuts, but he uses it to his advantage. Yeah. Oh, man. I heard Goblin Slayer's back. I need to get on that. So, yeah, I think there's something in there for you. Tony. I think so. So, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Have the character wear a mirror in front of his face. If he runs, then it's in front of him now. And Zork. Yeah, that's true. First half of the second season is quite good. Heard? Yeah, I need to check it out. All right. Let's keep cranking. We've got a couple of more questions. We'll do a little chat, and then we will be out of here. So the next question on the list of names is from Faye. And Faye asks, hey DM here. I'm a few sessions into my 3-5 campaign, nice, and I'm seeking some words of advice. I've created my world in such a way that there are several BBEGs. One of them in particular I would like to serve as a recurring antagonist. In your opinion, what's the best way to introduce this character in a way that both builds tension and also engages the players? Thank you. Well, thank you for the question. Sounds cool. Multiple BBEGs. And you want one of them to be a recurring character. So, let's see. What does chat have to say? Because to Duncan's point, and I agree, chat is so creative and knowledgeable. People's suggestions are generally good. So, yeah, I agree. BBEG's in the party. BBEG in the party. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. BBEG in PC? Maybe. You should have this guy save the party against a monster that's embarrassing to lose to. First thing recurring BBEGs need is a reliable escape button. No doubt. Yeah, I was thinking about that. So, under my notes, I said keep it mysterious, start slow. Keep it brief, let him see the power, and then disappear. So, I think that those are some of the coolest things to do, but to Flint's point, you need a reliable escape button. So if you're going to need to work in the mechanics of that world, whether it's an existing spell or item, or if you just want to like homebrew whatever this, maybe he's got like portals that he can shoot out of his hands or whatever. Have the BBEG hire them to do stuff. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. You could always do that plant where it's like the first quest giver is actually like the ultimate BBEG. BBEG PC. BBEG helps the party defeat their own family member, saying it's a family dispute, and then later turns on the party. Yeah, I was thinking that too. Oh, hey, Wilhelm, thank you. Welcome. Work with just one other party member, and only he or she knows that he's a BBEG. Yo, that sounds like something Ethan and I would do. That sounds like something Ethan and I have done. Although, to be fair, I didn't know that. Well, I don't want to spoil it for anybody that hasn't watched those, but yeah, I've been there. So I said you can make it reappear at critical moments. You can make it personal and use some of the backstory info from your players. That's a cool way to keep things engaged, particularly early game, if it's made kind of clear that, obviously it depends on what the nature is of the story of the party and like their relationship with the rest of the world. But like, at least in my experience in playing D&D, a lot of times it's like, at least certainly at the beginning, your characters are not necessarily renowned in the world for anything. In fact, they're, the idea you would hope most of the time is that they would be considered underdogs as they go out into the world to adventure and build a name for themselves. So all of that said, early game, for there to be somebody to know something very personal about them would be kind of crazy. And it might freak them out. And then you just have that person disappear, and then they're just gone. Barry, Ron says. Yeah. By the way, Barry is actually a masterclass example of how to do just this, what you're asking. Barry, not so much as the DM character, but Ethan has put a Barry into every campaign we've done. Good, bad, or ugly. They're not always BBEGs, but what's great about it is that he finds a way to work it into every one. So BBEGs don't actually have to be evil, or they are evil, but they don't appear to be to the party. They're an ally to the party or someone the party has heard about, looks up to, but has opposite goals. Yeah, for sure. You can definitely introduce characters that, I think of like somebody like Buggy in One Piece, who's like not technically a villain per se. He's just kind of like also there with Luffy. Or Shanks might be a better example. At any rate, you have a kind of character that seems to be at a minimum ambiguous as to where they are morally or from an alignment perspective. And the lower key you can keep it, the less of a chance that they'll pick up on it. And or, if you wanted to pick up on it, you can make it a cool entrance. But you definitely want them to be able to pop out, disappear quickly. Whether that's through a portal or, getting picked up by a dragon or something. So I would say plan the entrance. Make the PCs have to work for them because they don't have a choice. Work for me or perish. Yeah, I think that you can kind of combine some of these ideas to get to where you need to, Fact. Isn't Barry a joke from the Adventure Zone because it's an insert of literal Tom Arnold? I don't know. I've not seen that before. But I know that Ethan's berry goes back years and years and years. Recently introduced a BBEG to my players, a Void Dragon Eldritch Horror hybrid that literally fell from space in a meteor and wants to eat them. It also has an aura of radiation and wild magic. Yo, that's cool. How do I feel about elder characters that have already leveled joining a new party that has level 1 characters? I don't know. That seems weird. Bringing in somebody that's, I don't know, that seems dangerous, at least from the standpoint of them probably likely being able to at any moment wipe that party out. That's real scary. But I guess that's what you're essentially doing with this, right? Because your BBEG isn't going to be level 1. So that could be weird having them in the party. Unless, you just had them, if they were like a doppelganger or something, it just appeared to be something that they weren't. But something's in there for you. Yeah, keep it mysterious, start slow, keep it brief, let them see the power and disappear. That's, I think, a great way to do it. And try and play on the characters' backstories for, further incentive than that. If you want to display this BBEG's power without risking a TPK, have them forget him the second he is out of their line of sight. Have them forget him the second he's out of their line of sight. That's a great way to unsettle your players. Ah, yes. Yes, it's quite false Hydra of you, River. River is like, surprise, it was me, Dio, with the false Hydra. Yeah. I think the VBEG idea that can be really good or really bad depending upon how handled is having the party realize halfway through that they've become the BBEG, and so do they fix this or embrace it? Yeah, I think we've talked about that before. And maybe there's a way to do that by connecting all of those things we talked about, because like if you have them within the party, even if they're not like because you mentioned there are multiple BBEGs, so like even if they're not if they're like not actively doing anything, just the fact that they're there to one kind of monitor the party. The only thing about that is that you would have to keep raising the bar as to dropping hints or at least indicators along the way. And if you do that with them in the party, you run the risk of somebody just being like, well, why don't we just kill this person? And depending on how strong they are, they might be able to do that, and then that kind of messes up your whole plan. So have the BBEG show up for battles and help them. Then he goes on his way. At the end of the campaign, he ends up becoming the final EBEG. Oh, that's cool too. Yeah. Like an assist. That'd be really neat. That'd be a cool way to build tension in the sense of like putting them into a situation where it seems like they're all going to die. Because those are always scary, especially early game. And then at the moment that at the moment that the that the dragon is gonna shoot his breath weapon off, this person just kind of appears and shuts all of that down. And you could have a whole plot line of them, some whole made up story about how like, oh yeah, I'm here to look after you guys and make sure that all things go well, and then I'd say back and forth for bringing them in and taking them away from the party. Like being a teacher character or Eldritch God type or level, I guess it's kind of hard to explain. An example of this is my current BBEG has had his hand in messing up my party's lives individually, but they haven't met before. They came together in completely separate dimensions. Whoa, so he's like a dimension jumping BBEG. Been watching Grimm. Lots of reversals where allies become enemies and back again. I fell off of that show. I used to watch that show back when it came out. I was like actually really hype about it when it first came on the air, and then I just kind of like, maybe I should reapproach. But hopefully find something in there, Faye. Let's keep going. So we've got a couple of more questions. This next question is from Dave. And Dave asks, hello, Chaz. My cousin and his D&D group have been playing a homebrew 5e campaign for the last few months. Originally, I was sitting out, but my work schedule has changed, allowing me time to join. We're all excited to start next week, but I worry about having a good, strong character. In addition to catching up to plot, the party of 5 is already pretty stacked with damage dealers. Barbarian, 2 rogues, monk, and a warlock. Suggestions? Well, thank you for the question, Dave. It sounds to me like that party could use a bard. I'm not sure if your main goal is doing damage, but I already see 2 clerics in chat, and cleric was the other class that I had noted. My actual note says, sounds like that party could use a bard, or a cleric, or a druid. Druids are great too. Druids are great utility, and seeing it visually in real time in Baldur's Gate in terms of like the places that only druids could access. But druid, and I think they did a good job of showing the druid's utility in the film, and in the most recent Dungeons and Dragons film. Druid's a nice extra. Druid's a good support, and then in addition to just being able to like wild shape, druids have heals. So you need heals. I mean, the thing about doing damage is that there's only so many people in the party that can do it, and the more people that are doing it, the less chance there is that you're going to be able to get in satisfying hits and or kills. And so my suggestion to that end would be to gain your satisfaction from aiding your teammates in either inspirational song or through the blessings that are offered by cleric, Circle of Spores druid, death cleric. Yeah, that's a thing too. You could kind of get away with both if you really wanted to be able to do dole out some damage, and then also offer utility to the party. Then you could go like war cleric or death cleric. Didn't we talk about death clerics last week? I think we did. But yeah, it seems like this party needs some sort of support. And I said bard first, but the fact that so many people have said cleric, and I had noted cleric as well, says that make a cleric. Because even if you don't go war domain, you can still... Clerics are pretty hefty. They're a lot different than they used to be, I think. I don't think the clerics were... Well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because I don't think I've ever played a cleric in 3.5, now that I think about it. Druids are very versatile. Done right, they can heal an attack and turn into animals, which has non-combat options. Grave clerics are great for negating crits, as well as spare the dying at range. That's true, yeah. It's good utility. Healer, priest, or death cleric, like people said. Also a battle master or other combat control character. Oh, I didn't even think about going battle master fighter. That's a move. Although... seems a bit presumptuous to come in late to the party and, essentially play point guard. Because if you were doing like a battle master fighter, then you'd be like moving around your teammates and or, buffing them or helping them or preventing them from stuff. Your melee characters will appreciate you casting haste on them. Yeah, for sure. Yes, and that's right, Pirate. Paladins as well. So it's all in that same kind of wheelhouse. I think Bard, Cleric, Druid, Paladin is a great addition to that. Maybe also even like Artificer, which seems a little wild card, but I feel like that could be some good... That could be a good, sixth wheel to this party of monsters, it seems. 2 rogues. What is that like? CC's crowd control. Okay, thank you. I wonder what that was, Duncan. Yeah, druids are good for crowd control because they've got stuff like entangle, spike growth, etc. If you want to go wild card, go blood hunter. Artificer could be great with passing out infusion items. Yeah, no doubt. Like, you could essentially be Alfred from Batman for this party if you were an Artificer. Because you could just hook up all of their gear and stuff. That'd be pretty dope. Although you wouldn't probably be doing a whole heck of a lot in battle although your work would be. So you want to build a rogue artificer. Yeah, that sounds fun. Yeah, and I also think, I didn't note this, but I just thought of it, like multi-class. That's an option. So like maybe something like, I don't know, Ranger Bard, or like a Cleric Druid. I don't know what level you're at, so that makes a big difference in terms of multiclassing, because it's like, what are you giving away? If you've got enough levels, then it's real easy to build something you're going to like. But you know who's awesome in heals? Divine Soul Sorks. I think there's a Divine Soul, Favored Soul origin for Sorks that gives them a few Cleric spells. And you can pick up that sweet Arcane spell, Crowd Control Power 2. Well, Dave, I think that there's certainly an answer in there for you. So let's keep moving, because we've got 2 more questions. And best of luck to you, Dave. I'm actually happy for you. I'm happy to hear that, with the change, you're going to be able to play. I wouldn't go in there hoping too much to take too much DPR, but, Cleric seems to be the overwhelming consensus, Druid, Bard, Pally, and maybe even like a Divine Soul Sork. So, or an Artificer. So you got options. Don't be so worried. Don't be concerned. It's going to be great. You're going to have a great time. All right. So, next question is from Amanda. Right? Right. And Amanda asks, what are your top 5 favorite movies? So this was more difficult than I thought it was going to be. Thank you for the question. I think I've talked about this before, and I might actually out myself in terms of inconsistency, but I think that this is what they are, and this is why they are. So I made notes of what I think they are, at least at this moment in time. I'm sure that they've been different in the past, and maybe will be in the future, but this is what they are at the moment after I gave some consideration. And why? A Clockwork Orange, because I think that it is I think that it's an analysis of the worst of humanity. And as such, I think it's important for people to see it. Straight Outta Compton is a masterclass in storytelling and casting. It was so good. I was so hyped for that movie for so long, and I was a little bit worried when it came out that I wasn't going to like it, and I loved it more than I thought I would. So that's on the list. Amores Perros, which is a Spanish film from, I think, 2000. It's all about love, loss, and regret. It's really good. Princess Mononoke, because it addresses the power of nature and the danger of greed. If you don't know, Princess Mononoke is a feature film by Miyazaki done in, I believe, 1987. I think it came out the year I was born. It's really good. And then I put Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on there because it's just so good. It's I think it's perfect family fun and adventure. The other thing in with these films, in keeping that in mind, is that in addition to my thinking that they're really, really good films, they're also movies that I would just like stop what I was doing to watch. So, like if I was just like walking through a room and like Princess Mononoke was on, I would probably sit down and finish it. And I could say that for all of them that I mentioned. I also put as like sort of an honorable mention, Igby Goes Down, which has been on my top 5 before, and only really isn't because I feel like the real value of it is that it's a chaotic and dysfunctional coming-of-age story. And so I don't appreciate the theme so much now that I'm like into my late 30s, but I still think it's a really great film. And also, back when Kieran Culkin, pre-Succession Kieran Culkin, back when Kieran Culkin was like a teenager. So those are my movies. Those are my favorite movies. Rewatched Falling Down recently. Oh yeah, with Michael Douglas. Face Off. No shot. It's Face Off. Tremors. Oh, I forgot about Tremors. Tremors 1 through 3 and 5 and 6. Really, Flint? All but 4? Come on. Really, 3? 3 with the... Didn't they fly in 3? Well, in 2 they get the... Yeah, in 2 they walk. And then in 3 they fly. I guess 4 was pretty bad, because that was the one that, like, goes back in time. Chitty Chitty is truly scrumptious. No doubt. I love Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. So good, dude. It's an MGM movie, too. It's not Disney. Let's see. What do we got in the chat for people's favorites? Blazing Saddles, Princess Bride. Princess Bride is like a full movie. It's a really, really good movie. Escanaba and the Moonlight, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, Clue. Oh, man, Clue's good, yeah. Princess Bride is good. Well, hold on there. I think that Princess Bride is, in fact, a cinematic masterpiece. It was really, really good. No Mel Brooks. Well, listen, I love Mel Brooks. I don't know if I'd put him in my top 5 for stuff, but yeah, Mel Brooks stuff's great. Spaceballs is great. Young Frankenstein is great. The Departed. That's the other thing, too, is that there's so many. And obviously, there's like infinitely more now than there was when I was a kid. So it's like every year there's like, 1,000, thousands of more movies. Buckaroo Banzai. Oh, dude, you know what that just made me think of? Six String Samurai. I don't know if anybody's seen that before. That one's a weird one. When I was in my 20s, my buddies and I used to go to, my roommates and friends and I would go to Movie Stop like weekly. And I would get horror movies, bad horror movies, because you could get them, you get like 5-6 of those movies for like $20. Okay, because they're like $2 or $3. Nobody's watching those, but me. I have a bunch of them still. But that said, in addition to bad horror movies, we would just pick up these weird kind of things where it's like, I've never even heard of this before. And it's like, let's watch it. And it's like, man, this is really good. Isn't Airplane Flying High a Mel Brooks thing? Airplane is Airplane Mel Brooks? I don't think so. The original Rear Window. Oh, no doubt. Yeah, any Hitchcock is good. Early Hitchcock's good. The original Karate Kid. Kung Fu Hustle. Kung Fu Hustle's so good. Every time I think of Kung Fu Hustle, I think of Kung Pao Enter the Fist and think about how funny Justin finds that movie. Like, I think it's funny too, but Justin thinks it's really, really funny. Original Old Boy, yeah. Office Space, Titan AE, and Star Trek First Contact. I saw somebody say we're probably in need of a Star Trek movie. Overdue for one. First time I watched Princess Bride, watched with us. The girl was with us, and I said, "It's okay." She slapped you. Well, hey, The Princess Bride is a masterpiece. Dead Poets. It's a good one. It's a good one I forgot. Breakfast Club is probably up there, only because I could probably quote that movie opening to end, like, in my sleep. I've probably seen it hundreds of times. Unforgiven. All right, we've got one more question, and then we're going to do a little bit of chat. And actually, I saved this question for last because I thought that it would kind of lead into chat and just general discussion. But thank you for the question, Amanda, because that's fun. I always like talking about movies. This last question is from Ty. So, Ty asks, bardadvice /D&D/sports fan here. First of all, thanks for your breakdown / explanation of how and why sports and fantasy / RPG games are pretty much the same in terms of appeal. Great athletes are like epic warriors, heroes if you will. Which leads to my question, what are your thoughts on Wemby? Oh man, thank you for the question, Ty. So, we've talked about Wemby on this podcast before. For anyone who doesn't know. Oh no, I don't have it set. Maybe I can do it right now. Victor Wembanyama was the first pick of... Oh, no, I don't think I can. Was the first pick of the NBA draft this last year. He's 19 years old. He's 7'3", and he can do everything. It's pretty insane, actually. So, Wembenyama, my thoughts on him are that he's a lot better than even I thought he would be. He's a problem. I don't think we've ever really seen anything like him. People make the argument that, we've seen that before, but not to this extent. Not with him shooting over Kevin Durant, who was 6'11". It's not normal. And, he hit 38 points the other night. And I was actually telling my wife before the podcast, 38 points is a good game. It's an above average game. If Michael Jordan gave you 38 points, you'd be like, yeah. So the fact that he put up 38 and he's 19. Kareem, I don't know if he was completely that tall, but I don't know if Kareem was even ever as elegant as this. This kid moves around like it's just all effortless to him. And I'm sure, obviously a big part of that is just his size, because it's just, what are you going to do? But min-maxer, no doubt. But I don't know what his dump stats are, because, I was watching the end of the first Suns and Spurs game, the one at the end where KD got the ball ripped out of his hands and got upset. And the Spurs came back and won it. And shortly after the game, they put him on a headset and he was talking to Shaq. It was just really interesting. I was actually really surprised to see how well spoken he was, and how he seems to really understand the game. I think he's a real problem. If he's that big, he'll slow down pretty quick in a few seasons. True, he will slow down. He definitely won't be able to maintain that kind of speed as he ages, but he can hit threes. So it's like, how fast does he really have to be? He also seems to have a really high IQ. So for a lot of the greats like Kobe or Michael, he can kind of play whatever position you need him to. I mean, obviously you want him at center, but if there were ever a world where he needed to run the point, he probably could. Can someone please explain dump stat? So a dump stat is essentially, when you build a character, you obviously want to have some sort of you're not going to be great at everything, right? You're not going to have a +5 to all your stats. You have a certain amount of allotment of points. You can only spend so much. A dump stat is essentially something that you're not going to put any investment into, so you can use points from it into other stuff. So, for example, the way that we always built characters, I'm pretty sure it was base 8, 32 points. Something like that. Base 8, 28. I don't know. But, if I were building, for example, a barbarian, I probably don't care too much about charisma or even wisdom or intelligence all that much. If I'm building a barbarian, I care mostly about strength, constitution, maybe dexterity, depending on what the build is. And so as a result, charisma would be your dump stat. So, to steal a line, yeah, it's there's a line in TPK, but yeah, essentially the dump stat is just a stat that it's your worst. For example, in real life, dexterity is my dump stat because I haven't invested any training into it and it's really bad. So I drop stuff all the time and break stuff because I don't have good dex. The thing that you're not going to use. In 5e, it's intelligence unless you're a wizard, since no one else needs them. In first edition, it was Cha unless paladin. Wow. That's a good point. In 5e, it's intelligence unless you're a wizard. Wow, does really no one else use intelligence? Hold on. Don't artificers use intelligence? I mean, I guess that they're not technically a base class, but I thought that artificers used int. In real life, charisma does not have. Well, no worries. Wizards. Okay, yeah, artificers use it. Yeah, I thought so. I always felt like int didn't get that much love as a skill. But then again, it comes up quite often when you're talking about like knowledge and history, and artificers are just wizard lights. 3/5 is dex or strength for wizard. Yeah, I think every spellcaster, I think strength is just a good dump stat for any of the spellcasters, at least in 3/5 for sure. I mean, you're squishy enough as it is anyway, so it's like you might as well just have a 6 strength. Rogue, use intelligence. Other skill monkey. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't be much of a skill monkey these days. There's like 10 skills. Oh, people dump intelligence. So as a DM, I have some checks that require intelligence on the table grounds. Yeah, I guess that's true. I wonder if that's a trend. I mean, obviously, if we're saying that people dump intelligence a lot, hey, DMs, throw out intelligence checks more often. It can be unfun, though, but I mean, that's something you should be paying attention to with the party. Dave, the gentleman that asked the question about going into the party, consider what's not in that party, right? What's in that party? A barbarian, 2 rogues, a monk, and a wizard. There's no charisma in there. That's why you need you a bard. Dump decks, wear plate. Now that's a t-shirt. My players are probably sick of all the knowledge checks I have them make when they ask questions about stuff. Yeah, well, that's what they get for asking questions. What did they think was going to happen? Don't Eldritch Knights use int? Oh, yeah, I think they do. Which seems kind of silly, right? That makes it kind of a difficult build. Why don't Eldritch Knights just use, like... Well, I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter what it is. You'd have to adjust it anyway. I remember in my games as a player, I had to have high int because the DM would place things in other languages in the game. And if you didn't have a high enough int, you only knew 2, maybe 3 languages. Oh, yeah, I remember those days. I don't know what the rules are these in 5e, but I remember it's... So what is it? It's like everybody speaks a language, and then you get any kind of like racial languages, and then like with int, it's like you get a language for every point in your proficiency bonus or whatever in your ability mod. So if you have like a 20 int, which is a +5, you get 5 extra languages. That's a pretty cool thing to do. And we are in the middle of chat as we are, and let's talk about good things of the week while we're at it, while we're doing it. My good thing for the week is that I'm almost done with the album. So much so that I was confident enough to share the track listing earlier, but I'm almost finished with the album. So I'm really excited about that. That's probably my good thing for the week because I should be cleaning it up this weekend, and then tentatively it'll be out on 11/11. We'll see. And whoosh, there goes the time. Yeah, it always goes by fast. If I DM again, I'd make sure players get or will get to know how important intelligence is. Pathfinder's pretty generous with languages, but there's like 50 of them too. Yeah. We covered a good thing for the week. Pirates looking at 40. It was a fun Halloween. Oh, yeah, Halloween was this week. We just kind of glossed over that, I guess, because it was on Tuesday. We had a good amount of trick-or-treaters, probably not as much as we had last year or the year before. It seems that those numbers are dwindling, which, understandable. I mean, how crazy are we to go out, run around to strangers' houses to get candy? Of course, I mean, I guess if I was a kid, I'd probably be a lot more inclined. Got to see a lot of cool costumes. That was fun. Pretty sure everyone can guess what my good thing for the week was. Good thing for you on the album. Nothing good for me other than it's Friday. Well, that's a good thing. Just going to try your hand at an AI Art of Alchemist fire. Oh, go for it. Heck yeah, that'd be dope, Chris. Making progress on a new class I'm writing where you slowly become an ooze. Wow, nice. It's like that time I got reincarnated as a slime backwards. Invincible is back. All right, River. Have a good one. Good thing of the week, my youngest in 8th grade plays violin and orchestra. She had the opportunity last week to play a concert with the high school orchestra. Wow, that's awesome. Good for her. She's playing above her age. That'll be helpful for her when she gets into high school. I think I did that myself. I don't know if I ever like officially played for like a high school when I was in junior high, but I think that I was skilled beyond my years. My group had a blast with the Halloween-themed Tales from the Crypt game we ran for them. Oh, I bet. Trunk or treat. Yeah, which seems weirder, right? You just show up in a parking lot and there's candy in a trunk. I don't know, dude. I feel like I'd rather go to somebody's house. Can we chat about the Tyson versus Francis boxing match? I didn't watch it, although I was surprised to see that Tyson won, but it was by decision. I know that it's like, it's a hot button issue, highly debated. Honestly, I unfortunately don't know enough about fighting to have much of an opinion on it, other than to say that I was surprised. I thought Francis would knock him out, to be honest. Good thing is the rush at work is over, so back to playing Baldur's Gate 3 while getting paid. Nice. Got through 15 boxes of 120 books and boxes of books for sale. Whoa. Sometimes the trunk or treats are done by school. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah. That's probably even safer. Did I know that Ian Fleming of 007 film fame wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? I did indeed, Jay, actually, funny enough, only because I was such a James Bond fan. When I was a kid, I had this like silver, what looked kind of like an attaché case, and it was filled with, up to that point, all of the James Bond films on VHS. And I had, at the time, I probably couldn't do it now because it's been so long, but at the time I had memorized everything about all of the movies in terms of, like, if you named a movie, I could tell you the year it came out, the villain, who played the villain, which Bond it was, who the Bond girl was. So I was like a huge Bond fan. Looking forward to Thanksgiving, indeed. My achievement of this week was getting out of bed most days. Oh, come on, Duncan. You got face painted. That sounds super fun. Who's my favorite Bond? My favorite Bond is Timothy Dalton. But who I think is the best Bond is probably Sean Connery. I don't know. I thought Timothy Dalton was just perfect. And he only did the 2. But I liked him. So, thank you for shopping with Cowboy Al. Yeah, for sure. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for coming down and hanging out. We're here at the end again already. I can't believe it. It's already been an hour. Before we wrap up here, let's remind everybody, as we do, of the email, which is bardadvice@gmail.com. Please send all questions, concerns, complaints, queries, criticisms, critiques to bardadvice@gmail.com. It also looks like bardadvice, if that helps you remember. If you want to get some merch, you can do so over at manshorts.com. And if you'd like to contribute to anything that I'm doing musically, notably my third album, Organized Lightning, you can do so directly via PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo, all of which are YAHZICK. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening and this week. I hope that you have a fantastic week ahead of you. I will be back here, same Bard time, same Bard channel, next week, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Friday on the Man Shorts YouTube channel. The audio for this podcast will be available, as it always is, each week at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday. Thank you all for hanging out, and we will see you next time.